Sometimes it seems like God is far away, or sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions and we're on autopilot. And for those times, we're going to talk about how to have a spiritual refresh, some ways that we can revive our hearts and souls for Christ. So thank you for listening to us today. I'm Kathy Pollard, and with me is Carla Moore, freshly back from the world tour.
I wouldn't say freshly. There's
Bright-eyed.
nothing
I was
fresh.
going to say, you are fresh, right? Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Let's just say I have lavender pants on underneath my red and white striped shirt, and it's clean. It's clean. So, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you look great. This is Looking Up a Podcast. Do that again. You got to hold it up there because I started talking.
You're trying to get a screenshot, aren't you?
All right. So now I'm trying to say this is a podcast for Christian women
Dignified Christian women.
or fashion sense. Take your pick. So thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. Our objective is to remind us to keep looking up Colossians 3, 1 and 2. We just love to get together and chat about things that are on our hearts, and maybe they're on yours too. And it'll be fun for you to join us. Grab your favorite drink. We're coming into the cooler weather, so grab a hot, warm drink or whatever makes you feel cozy, and join us for this chat. So you just got back, Carla, late last night
Yep.
from your trip. You said you were gone for 3 solid weeks.
Well, we left 3 weeks ago today. So,
Yeah,
yeah, one day short of 3 weeks.
that's crazy. I bet your own bed felt so good last night.
It was so good. We got home and pulled everything in and just kind of left it on the floor. And I wanted a shower, but I didn't want to go through the whole drying my hair kind of thing. But you know how it is. You get so grungy
Yeah.
riding on airplanes and bumping everything with strangers and it was crowded. This was the year of Jubilee in
Oh,
Rome.
mm.
So we were told by our guide that normally there's anywhere between 25 and 30 million visitors to Rome in a year, but this year it was going to be like 80 million. And I think they were all there while we were there.
Oh,
So yeah, we were glad to get home, and that bed did feel amazing. Although my eyes sprang open at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just jet lag. The weirdest thing happened though. Um, Last night, so we pulled into the house, I don't know, 11:15 or so, and I was trying to get our medicine out of the suitcase and just those few things that we needed right away. And I kept having like just weird sleepwalk, but I was talking, not sleepwalking. I wasn't asleep, obviously, because I was moving around, but I don't even know how to explain it. But my mind would start thinking about, oh, here's the Tylenol in my pill bottle. And then like John said something, and I'd say, how many do you want? And he'd look at me funny. And then I'd be going like, where did that come from? And then later on, I felt like someone else had said something and I answered them, and I was asleep. You know how when you are afraid in a dream and you can't talk, you're going, help, help.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I felt like my voice was doing that. And I mean, even in bed, I was laying in bed and I said something to John, like, I don't even remember what it was, but he turned over and looked at me and I said, are you okay? And well, I had put one of those patches on, the motion sickness patches that's supposed to help with flights and stuff. And I've never gotten sick. But anyway, it dries you out really bad. Like
Oh,
you feel sticky everywhere and eyes were dry. And plus being up for more than 24 hours will do it to you. I just think I was dead tired because I'd laugh at myself. I just don't even know how to describe it. It was just like exhaustion, I guess, because I've never talked to people who are not there before, and I was doing it last night.
that's called exhaustion.
Okay, professional diagnosis.
You know how when you've been on a long road trip, like driving, and when you go to bed, do you ever do that thing where like you're still driving?
Yeah.
I think that's you.
You still feel that buzzing and
You're
yeah.
you're still responsible for 50 something people and traveling. And last time we talked, you said you'd been in about 10 different hotels. So all told, was it 10?
I didn't count back up, but I mean, we were in the first place we stayed was 2 nights, and then there was 7 in a row of changing. I think. And then we were in Ephesus for 3 nights, and then Athens 2, and then Rome for 5. So I don't know. It was probably 10-ish, something like
Yeah.
that.
No wonder you're a little confused. You just need a few days back in your normal routine.
Did you say no wonder I look confused, or
Oh, no, you were
what you
confused.
worse? Okay, because I was going, what
No,
do I
you
look
don't
confused?
look confused. Mm-mm.
Okay. It's probably an overdose
When
on
you
pizza.
said my eyes are dry, I wanted to break into song.
My heart is full, or whatever it is.
But somebody pointed out, Carla, that last week you were trying to tell a story and I sang over you, and that it was very obvious that you didn't know how to respond, and I wouldn't stop singing, and you like had to stop in the middle of your story, and I don't even remember that.
I don't either, and I've listened to it. I don't remember that.
Well, but anyway, I feel like I owe you an apology and then everybody else for my rudeness. And so when you said my eyes are dry, I wanted to go, my eyes. And I was like, there it is. I do that.
Okay. So, how was pickleball with Neil and Hillary and Barrett?
Oh, it was so much fun. It was all that smack talk that Barrett did about how he was going to defeat us because get embarrassed.
No, it's just I'm trying to not elaborate on what you said. Trying to be dignified, Kathy.
Okay, all that smack talk, he
Oh,
was actually accurate.
no.
Yeah, we played couples against couples for a couple of games, and then we played girls against boys for a couple of games. And of course, they beat us both times on that one. And the second time, Hillary and I never even scored a single point. They completely skunked us. So,
Well,
but it was fun.
we all know that y'all let them win, though. You
Well,
and
of
Hillary
course,
did. Mhm.
male ego and all that.
Yeah,
And
had
so,
to make sure they were okay.
but it was very fun. But Barrett kept saying, yeah, yeah, I can see us doing this on a regular basis, but we should get more people to play. And I know what that means. That's like when Neil says he doesn't really enjoy playing, going bowling with me because I'm so bad at it. It's not enough of competition. So I think that's what he was saying. They're going to need some better players so it's more fun for
Well,
them.
whatever,
But it
whatever.
was fun. It was fun. And on the Hammer note, they had two kids baptized on Sunday.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah,
That's
Corbin and
wonderful.
Kara. And so that was a really special day and special moment for them. And glad we got to go
Yeah,
be a part of it and watch
that's
it.
great.
They're very close, those siblings. They do everything together. And Corbin's been reading through the Gospel of John on his own. And it's just, he's always been like a little adult.
Yeah,
We've
that's
known
pretty
him,
deep.
we've known him since he was 5 years old, and he's always been that way.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. So that was a special moment. I feel like I have some fun show and tell things
Okay.
to share. So, one, speaking of pickleball, Gary and Chelsea went to Jackson's Orchard. So Chelsea's sister Cheyenne and Cheyenne's youngest baby, Peyton, were here for the past week, and they all went to Jackson's Orchard, got the pumpkin pictures, and all that kind of stuff. And they found, look at this. Do you see that?
Pickleball pasta.
Pickleball pasta. They're all in the shape of pickleball paddles.
Are they all pickleball? Or
Yeah.
is there other? Yeah,
No,
I see it.
they're all pickled. So for
Yeah.
those of you who aren't watching, the pasta is like most of them are regular pasta and then some of them are green, like that spinach pasta, I guess. But
Mhm.
they're all in the shape of little pickleball rackets, complete with holes in
Yeah,
them, the little
like a
tiny
wiffle
holes.
ball, pickleball.
Yeah. So anyway, this is adorable. And he gave it to us because Neil and I, occasionally would have pasta on Sunday night after church. And he said, this is for your Sunday night pasta. So Sunday night, Neil wanted me to make it, and I said, I have to show it. I have to show it first.
Well, you could have just shown us the bag.
No, you have to see it. You probably didn't. You probably couldn't tell through the bag. I should have opened it up, but they're adorable.
No, I could see the holes in the balls for sure.
And then last week, I forgot to share. I told you that Neil was at the Faulkner lectureship, and he brought us back. these little shirts, alumni.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he still has one, a blue one from when he was in school there.
yeah.
So it's been over 30 years and he still has a shirt very much like this one, except it's cotton and this is more of that fake stuff.
Do you have anything from 30 years ago, clothing wise, that you still wear?
No,
I don't either.
no, no, no. Mm-mm.
I'm a different size now,
I was
but
going to say, I was a child. I just turned 20.
yeah.
I had no figure.
Well, I was just thinking because John wears this. In fact, he bought another pair of boots identical to the three pairs before these. Same everything. I'm like, so boring. I need to have some variety in my life. But I mean, he'll keep, in fact, that black pullover that he wears all the time. I know he's had that for at least 11 or 12 years. And I tend to like move things in and out. And I don't know, sometimes if I don't wear it in a year, I think I'm not ever going to wear it again. So moving on out.
Yeah.
Men are just different.
Yeah. And they're just content. They don't really want to mess with it. And well, I say they,
Yeah.
some men. Yeah. And
Mhm.
then we had a conversation recently about mascara. I think it was in our last favorite things. I was talking
Mhm.
about a couple of different mascaras that I had tried. And Cheryl Turner just sent me one by the company Number Seven.
Wait.
You ever tried their cosmetics?
No, I'm fixing to take a picture, write that down. Hold it up again.
Right. Number Seven,
Okay, got it.
full 360. Volumizes, lengthens, and curls. But anyway, she sent me this, and I was so excited because look, I like the way the tube looks too. Look at that.
Hmm. Is that
Um,
her favorite?
I don't know. She actually sent, it was like an out of the blue package full of a variety of things. Just I see these things and I think of you. But several years ago, she introduced me to Number Seven's foundation
Hmm.
because she used to work at one of those makeup counters in the mall way back when. It wasn't
Like
Clinique.
Clinique or something? Not.
Yeah, it wasn't Clinique. It may have been Estee Lauder. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And she said that Number Seven's foundation is the closest one without the high price tag. And this was when you could go to Target, and Target had somebody there in the makeup aisle that would use that little thing up against your skin. Did you ever see them doing
No.
it?
In
And
Target?
they put it up against your skin and it scans it and then it tells you which foundation to wear. Like, is it warm, cool, neutral, which number? The Number Seven. It's
Hmm.
specifically. So I don't wear foundation anymore, but I had started wearing Number Seven foundation. So I guess that's probably why she thought of me when she saw this or whatever, or
Hmm.
she heard the conversation about mascara. I don't know. But anyway, she sent this and I love it.
I'm
I
always
love it.
looking for a good mascara that doesn't cost $50 because I just can't imagine paying that much for mascara.
No.
I'm like
Mm,
10.
yes.
And
Yeah.
even that is over the 4.99 that the Great Lash mascara I used to wear.
I used to wear that all the time. You know what I've noticed about that though? It leaves marks up here now. Have you noticed that?
In your eyebrows?
Yes. Like the top of your eyelid.
Oh, well, it looked like you were pointing to your eyebrow.
That's because I got my glasses on. But because one time I was traveling and I forgot my mascara and I just ran in and I picked up one of those, whatever the green and pink tube was.
Great Lash.
Yeah. And I put it on in the car, and when we're done with our speaking engagement and we're back in our room, I noticed that I had like those mascara marks all at the top of my eyelids there. Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, we're digressing. But
Yeah, we are.
anyway, oh, here's another fun thing that happened. I was really spoiled this week. So we had our family retreat, our church family retreat. It was great. Tim Lewis came and spoke, and it was three fantastic lessons. I think they recorded them and put them online if anybody wants to listen. But Holly Bauman on Saturday gave me a box of like a sample of all of the pastries that they made that weekend.
That's your
So
chocolate
you know
babka.
how to make, you've had her chocolate babka,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, she also makes croissants, croissants.
So,
And she, When she makes them, she's very precise with them and she measures and cuts and rolls, well, all the scraps that she cuts off, she uses those to make something called morning buns or morning rolls, something like
Mhm.
that. And the filling that she uses on the chocolate babka, she spreads in that and rolls them up and bakes it. So it's the croissant dough with the babka filling. And then so that and some croissants and some chocolate croissants and then some kind of almond amazing thing with almond paste and almond. I don't even know what, I can't remember what she called it. But
Yum.
yeah, so she sent that home. That was Saturday. Well, last night we had ladies Bible class here and she brought the chocolate babka.
Mhm.
And it was so funny because Chrissy Johnson was here. She's never had it before. And the idea of a bread, like a regular bread, not a cake or something with chocolate sounded weird to her. And so a lot of us have had it and are very familiar. We were so excited. We're cutting it up in slivers, and she's going, no thanks. And
Mm.
Chrissy Johnson said, I don't think I'm gonna like it. I don't know if I would like that. No thanks. And so we're all, of course, going, you have to try it. And we said, we're just going to watch you while you try it.
A little peer
So
pressure.
we're all watching her. She takes one bite and she chews it for a little bit, and her eyes light up and she goes, I like it.
I mean, what could be bad about it? If you like bread and you like
I know.
chocolate, it's
I
the best
know.
of both worlds.
Yeah.
Holly, don't you want to move back to Texas
She does
and be
not.
close to your
No.
grandparents that are here?
Oh, that's dirty.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
nice.
Look, all is fair in love and war and chocolate babka.
Oh,
I don't have a whole lot. I mean, it hadn't been that long since we talked, but we did go worship with the church in Rome, which we had done when we were with y'all. You remember the guy that we were just convinced was Bob Turner?
yes.
He was there.
Oh, wow.
And the second, well, he's a member there.
Oh, okay. He wasn't just.
And he led singing or something, I think, but I still saw it. I don't think anybody in our group, if I'd said he looks just like Bob Turner, I didn't know if they would know. So I didn't say anything about it, but yeah,
But he still looks like Bob
he
Turner.
still looks like Bob Turner. He's heavier than Bob Turner. So speaking of the Turners, so we went and worshiped with him on Sunday, and then we went to the catacombs, the San Sebastian catacombs. Did we do that with y'all?
Yes.
Okay.
My first time.
Yeah. So that was kind of the end. We had our farewell meeting. We don't really do a farewell dinner anymore on these trips like we do in Israel, but we got together that last night and kind of had a farewell. And, it just really is like when you were a kid. And did you do summer Bible camp when you were a kid?
Mhm.
And you make friends, and on Thursday, well, I don't know what time y'all would go home. We would always go home on Friday. So Thursday night was like, I'll never see you again. I love you so much. I can't believe we're
Te-
having to separate. And
Tears and
that's
hugs
kind of
and
how I felt. And that's how I feel every time we say goodbye. But these people we've been with for almost 3 weeks. There was two groups. The first, there was 11, 12, 13 who did not go on to Rome. So we had a smaller group in Rome, but it's just that's the biggest blessing of those trips, as you know, is
yeah.
getting to know the people.
And there's something about traveling with people that's just different. You're all in it together and it kind of brings out a different side of people. Most of the time, that's a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah, you all stink together.
Yeah, but when you experience that together, it really forges a bond. And speaking of, I'm already excited about the next year's trip next October. You probably don't want to talk about it because you just got back.
No, but you can. I'll just close my eyes, my ears. You go ahead.
But we've already heard from some people that want to go with us, and I'm really excited about it. And I won't mention any names, but it's
Yeah.
going to be a
Yeah.
great trip.
Half full. And we don't even have the registration open yet.
No, half full and not even officially open yet. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about dates though. I think John talked to Neil. We just need to like nail it down. So,
right.
and the only other thing that I thought was kind of fun was that they had free Wi-Fi on that long flight yesterday. So I was able to order my groceries somewhere over the whatever ocean is at the Atlantic Ocean and
That's
went and picked them
cool.
up this morning at 7:30.
That is pretty cool.
It is cool because I didn't have anything in the house that really we could make. I couldn't make my egg and banana thing. So John was having withdrawal from his oatmeal banana cake, so I had to go get stuff to make it.
So did somebody come in and air out your house for you and water your plants and things like that while you were gone?
Well, nobody aired it out, but our neighbor that lives in what used to be John's Aunt Shirley's house, they came and watered. And we got rain while we were gone too, so everything was good. But it's 64 degrees right now, which is
Mm.
amazing. I
Mhm.
think y'all are probably colder than we are, but this is just, I mean, usually we're 80 something at Thanksgiving, so we're getting a little bit of a cool stretch, and I'm very thankful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's soup season.
Oh yeah.
I'm so excited.
Mm,
All
but that's
right.
all
So
I got.
anything else before we hop into our topic? I know you're gonna go visit your mom
Oh,
after we're done here.
two things.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is this milk
Aha.
chocolate gummy bears. I got
Nice.
a package in the mail right before we left from Celicia Grider, and there was 3 bags of these milk chocolate gummy bears.
Wow.
That's a
That
friend.
should that should last you a couple weeks.
Well, yeah, actually, I took 1 bag and there's still about 10 of them left in the bag. So I did, it's just one of those once a day, maybe twice a day, go get a little bit of chocolate. But that was so sweet because I kept complaining to her that I could not. She said she found them at TJ Maxx and Home Goods, and I'd always look and they'd never have them. So it must be just something that's up in that area, Georgia area. And then I'm not going to show the whole thing. I showed you the whole thing, but I'm really excited about the cover for next year's scripture writing book. And Catherine Plant, if any of you know Kathy, some people call her Kathy, Catherine Plant. She's the one that just did the illustrations for, I can't remember what it's called, but Caleb and Rebecca Colley did a curriculum for kids. And I don't even know if I'm saying that right, if it's a curriculum or if it's Bible class material. But I had asked her last year, I had asked Catherine last year if she could do the cover, and I didn't get to her on time. It was a little too late. And she
Mhm.
said, ask me again next year and I'll do it. And
Mhm.
so she just sent me the cover, and I don't want you to show, I like to keep a little bit of it secret, but I'm going to show just the very top. So, I mean, she is a legit Artemis. She's not a legit Artemis. She is a legit
She's
artiste.
a for real artist.
Yes, a for real person.
For
And
real.
here's the top. You
So
can
good.
see, if you're looking, you can see that it's a fountain pen
Mhm.
and it's holding a ribbon, but I will be silly and wait and reveal that when the next year's scripture writing book is
I
ready.
feel so special that I've seen the whole thing.
Well, you
It
are
is
special.
amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
it.
I did too. I can't
It
wait to
looks
see the books.
fantastic. She's
Yep,
very talented.
she is.
Hmm.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it back safely and that you had an uneventful trip and hope you get caught up on some sleep and visiting with your mom time and all that kind of stuff. But I know we need to get moving because you are going to head over there as soon as we're done here.
If my head ends up on the computer, just whistle or something.
Okay, I will. I
Yeah.
will. Yeah. All right. So we're talking about how to have a spiritual refresh, revive me. And that's a phrase, as you know, that's used often in the Psalms. And when you read through the Psalms and the different situations that they found themselves in, whether it was discouragement because of what they saw all around them, or they felt they were oppressed or alone or burdened by sin, all the different scenarios, they ask God to revive them. And a lot of times it'll say, revive me according to,
Your
fill
will.
in,
Mhm.
your word or something like that. Specifically in Psalm 119, we see that a lot. And I should have written it down, but what is the other way that's worded instead of revive me in different versions?
Refresh?
Is it
Oh,
refreshed
I don't know. I didn't look at that.
or bring back to life or I should have looked that up. I was just
Uh,
thinking as we were talking that some versions don't say revive, they use a different word.
What is it? Psalm 119?
Yeah, so look at verse 37.
Okay, revive me. Let me do a text comparison. Let's see.
Okay, so while you're looking that up, even even if you've been serving Christ for decades, you've been a Christian, you grew up in a Christian home, things happen in life that can hit us hard. And, or maybe if it's some kind of ongoing long-term trial or difficulty that you're dealing with, then after a while can just start to weigh on you. Or maybe you're so busy and overwhelmed and distracted that you find yourself going through the motions. And that might look like times when you show up for worship and you're singing and it dawns on you, you haven't been paying a bit of attention to the words. You're just there. You're just filling the pew. Or you're not, your heart isn't engaged in worship. You're just going through the motions, or you're not um, finding gratitude or thanksgiving in your heart. You're just overwhelmed and worried. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios. And I think it is encouraging to know that God put this in the word for us to see. It's a very human thing to experience,
Mhm.
but also how to handle it when it happens.
Yeah.
It's going to happen sometimes, most likely. So, what can we do? So, I thought we would just each kind of share two, three, four things of ways that we could have a spiritual refresh. Nothing, these are all simple things that we can find in the Word. But do you
Do
want
you
to
want to
go
know what
first?
words there were?
Yes,
Okay, so the NASB has revive. ESV says, give me life in your ways.
that's
Um,
what it is.
New
Give me
King
life.
James, yeah,
Hmm.
New King James, revive me. One of them says, preserve my life. One says, give me life. Quicken thou me. You can guess which one that is. Give me life, revive me. So yeah, mostly revive, but
Yeah,
yeah,
give me life. That was the phrase I was trying to think of. And that's a great way to put it too, because we feel that. And it's such a strong plea, strong request. And the psalmist isn't afraid to ask for it. And I don't think we should be either.
yeah.
And so, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Well, let me just, this isn't exactly one of the reasons, but I did a ladies retreat earlier this year, and it was refresh, a spiritual reset. And so when you gave me the topic, I was like, oh, good, I've got lots of notes on that. But I also thought immediately about the lessons that you did at PTP. And one of the verses that I remember you quoting, I still think about it. It was my soul cleaves to the dust. Revive me according to your word. Is that
Mhm.
what the rest of it says? Or,
Yeah.
and because that's such a visual, my soul cleaves to the dust. It's just such a, lower than low, and you just need that boost. But this was one of the things that I had jotted down from that ladies' day. What are some signs that I might need a reset? Because I was thinking sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes you're just clocking along, and you think everything's okay. It's not great, but then
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of times that we really need, maybe it's not a feeling that we need to be reset, but it's an attitude. It's our heart and our minds, and there's that word intentionality again. We just have to know if we need to turn over a new leaf. So here's some ways that you need, some signs that you may need to reset and return. Maybe you need to move beyond something in your past, something that's kind of haunting you that you never took care of in years past. Maybe you need to address something that you regret, or regret, as you say. Sometimes we need a reset if I'm just discouraged with me.
Mhm.
Do you ever get that way where you're just kind of sick of yourself and you're sick of where you're stuck? If it's a rut, or you're just, for the last week, I've had a terrible attitude. What's going on? So when you're discouraged with me, you need a reset. Not when you're discouraged with me, but when I'm discouraged with me,
Right.
of course. And then what if I'm disappointed in myself or someone else? Kind of the same thing, but if I'm disappointed in something that has been going on, if I feel disconnected from my Christian family, that's a huge one. If you
Mhm.
feel, because when you feel that way, it's hard to want to go to worship. It's hard to want to go have any kind of fellowship with them. So you need a reset if you feel disconnected from your Christian family.
You just
Maybe,
show up and leave as soon as it's over. You don't want to
right.
visit, talk, fellowship.
If that, if
Mhm.
that, sometimes you don't even want to attend.
Yeah.
Um, another reason that you might need a spiritual reset. I'm impatient with what I think is a lack of spirituality around me, or maybe in me. You know, Sometimes we sit back and we just look down our nose at everyone who doesn't have the same level of spirituality. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things wrong with that. But if we're impatient with what we feel like is a lack of spirituality, we need a reset. Maybe we're feeling apathetic. This is something, and I think this was part of your lesson, and I've for some reason I remember hearing Mike Vessel talk about this too. I've just lost feeling. I'm just numb about things. And that's a huge indication that, there's a lot of things that you might need to address if you're feeling numb. But spiritually speaking, if I'm no longer touched by what he says, what the preacher says during the gospel meeting, or if I can be unmoved by what Jesus did for me on the cross, if I have no feelings, if I have no emotion about that, then I need to reset something. What if I'm not satisfied with my spiritual focus or my knowledge? I need to reset. When I think of how I spend my time, my money, my heart, my thoughts, and if there's a lot of world in all of those categories and not very much word, then I need a reset. Maybe if I feel hardened toward others, it's time for a reset. If I feel stuck in a judgmental cycle, where I'm just looking down my nose at everybody, or if I just want to be somewhere else, anywhere else but here, then there a lot of those things kind of give us an idea that we need some reviving. We need some spiritual CPR. So I just thought I would bring those up. And so I'll turn it back to you. You can, hopefully I
Yeah.
didn't take any of your reasons.
No, 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 no. That's really good. That's really good. So the first one is turn away your eyes. And that's the verse that I just mentioned that I had you look up. Psalm 119, verse 37 says, turn away my eyes from looking at vanity and revive me in your ways. And I just thought sometimes we need to turn away our eyes. We're taking so much in. We've talked about this before. We're taking in so much. It is all around us. We're bombarded with it. A lot of it can be good things, uplifting things, spiritual things, and a lot of it not. And what are you taking in? What are you watching? And is it drawing you closer to God, or is it weighing on you? Is it discouraging you? Is it mindless? Is it trivial? There's nothing wrong with enjoying the mindless and trivial. I've sent my fair share of ridiculous videos to you. But if you become spiritually stagnant, sometimes maybe you need to kind of step back and say, what am I taking in? One of your how do you know things that you mentioned is how you're spending your time and what you're doing is there more of the world in it than the word? And sometimes we just need to turn away our eyes, and take a break from all of that stuff. And the verse says, revive me in your ways. Reset, refocus, going back to Colossians 3, 1 and 2, set your heart on things above, not on things of the earth. And so that's one starting point, really, way to refresh is to just kind of clean things up a little bit, when you need to declutter
Mhm.
your counter or your junk drawer or your clothing drawer or whatever, and everything feels so much better when you get rid of all that stuff and you just have the essentials and what you need. And I think our soul every now and then needs a really good clean, a really good declutter, and just clean everything out, and start putting things back in that are just the essentials, the things that really matter and that are really important. So turn away your eyes. That's my first one.
I think you're talking about focusing and spending some time in the word, turning your eyes to that. It seems like that always hits you differently when you're at a retreat or when you have gone away, maybe not even overnight, but just get away from the world and you're able to turn your eyes away from the world and focus more. So that's a great one. Turn your eyes. And again, there's that intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
My first one is to spend time searching out who God is and just knowing who he is, because if you know who he is, then you know how he feels about you. You know how he feels about other people. I mean, when we wonder sometimes, why was he willing to do what he did for us, for me? And so to me, a good reset activity, if you want to call it an activity, is to spend time in the word with a concordance or with just something that will help you. Do you have a Bible marking? That's
Mm-hmm.
so that would be a good thing to do, to follow along the scriptures to who is God and how does he feel about me? Um, it made me think of, I know I've said this before, but how did your father treat you when you were a child? And I think this specifically is more important to little girls. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that could be true, because if it's a little boy that he grows up to be a dad, the same pattern could reemerge. But I think about those dads who are so have no time for their daughters and sons. Maybe they're harsh and quick in their punishment, punitive. Maybe they are demanding. You have to have the perfect grades, or whatever it is. That kind of a father, even though I think most of the time he means well, because I'm
Mhm.
not even bringing up abusive fathers. That's a whole different topic, but just someone who doesn't pay enough attention, and
Mhm.
a father who just doesn't, is aloof, maybe.
Yeah.
That, I just think that gives a child an impression of who their heavenly father is. And if they don't have that wonderful earthly father who loves them, who picks them up and hugs them, who tells them he loves them, who wants to spend time with them and cares what they say, that gives you such a great mental picture, a great foundation for who God is. And to me, that permeates every area of your life. I've just seen too many young women in particular who have not had a great dad. And, again, I think it's one of those things that trickles down. If you don't have a great dad, it's hard for you to maybe be a great dad, but break the cycle. Um, so the only thing that I want to do about this one is to read part of Psalm 103. Let me just pull it up, because there's so much in there that he says who he is, and we could trust him when he says he is who he is. And I should have had this open, but Psalm 103, beginning in I believe verse 1, says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget none of his benefits." So the first thing we know is there's benefits. "Who pardons all your iniquities." And I like to put my, personal pronoun, "who pardons all of my iniquities, who heals all of my diseases, who redeems my life from the pit, who crowns me with loving kindness and compassion, who satisfies my years with good things, so that my youth is renewed like the eagle. The Lord performs righteous deeds and judgments for all who are oppressed. He made known his ways to Moses, his acts to the sons of Israel. The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in loving kindness. He will not always strive with us, nor will he keep his anger forever. He has not dealt with us according to our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his loving kindness toward those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. Just as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. So my first one would be spend time digging into who God is and how he feels about you. And, of course, he has demands on us, but even when you get to know who he is, you understand that those demands are because he wants to protect us and provide for us and prevent bad things from happening to us. It's not because he's just trying to make our lives no fun. It's all for our protection and benefit. So find out who God is. That's my first one.
I love that because we know He's our Heavenly Father and we have a relationship with Him, but every relationship needs revisited as far as, we're talking about becoming spiritually stagnant or, in a rut or whatever. But I'm thinking about my marriage or a marriage, I should say. And when you feel like you're both just kind of coexisting, you're just going through the motions and living life. You're
Business
not really,
partners.
yeah, there's a little distance there and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times when you take some time to go back and remember who this man is that you married and his qualities and his characteristics and what drew you to him in the first place, it's just good to be reminded of why you fell in love with him in the first place and all the reasons that you admire him. And I can only imagine that doing a deep dive into the word for the sole purpose of getting to know God
Yeah.
would pull us out of any kind of doldrum, or what's the word I'm trying to say?
Doldrums.
Doldrums or
I'm good.
rut, spiritual
Yeah.
rut, or yeah, that's a great idea. That'd be a beautiful study.
Mhm. Well, maybe you can share your who is God or whatever the name of your Bible marking. That would be a good thing next week.
Okay. So my next one is bathe in the word, which kind of rests on the first one about turn your eyes away from certain things and then bathe in the word. Psalm 19, verses 7 and 8. The law of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul. So that was the phrase that caught my attention because we're talking about revival and refreshing. The law of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. And then the commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. So he's going down through, the benefits of God's word, of course, but restores the soul, brightens up the heart. And I started thinking about, I wanted to look at Psalm 119, verse 25 also. That one says, oh, that's the one you mentioned. My soul cleaves to the dust, revive me according to your word. So that was the one that you mentioned earlier. So revive me according to your word. And with these, I was thinking about something that we talked about in our ladies' class last night was the different ways that Paul would encourage others when he started writing his letters. Even though he found himself in difficult situations and he experienced difficult things, he always started out with encouragement. And when you look closely at him, there are different forms of encouragement. And when I think about bathing in the word for the purpose of renewal and revival, I know that those same words can encourage me and strengthen my heart. And when you look at the letters that he wrote, he talks about very specific things that he can see that God is doing through them, the good works that they're doing, the growth that they've had. And sometimes we think that our efforts don't really make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. They're just small. But, Paul is saying this is what God is doing with your efforts, and
Mhm.
he's encouraging them with that. And that he told them that God sees everything, God sees all of your attempts. So even when we're doing those things that we think nobody knows anything about, um, they'll never know anything about it, but God sees everything and he's the one that gets the glory and he's the one that sees every effort. And, there are all of these different ways that Paul encouraged specifically. And when we're feeling discouraged or, stale, whatever word you want to use, and we read those same types of encouragement, I think our hearts can be encouraged by that also. But more than that, if we look for opportunities to offer those same encouragements to other people, go through, it's basically the beginnings of all of those letters and then the end of Romans. Go through them, note the different types of encouragement, and then think about somebody that you can offer that same kind of encouragement to. I've really seen God use you in this way, blah, 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 blah. And not only will it be wonderful, of course, that you're encouraging somebody that way, but we know how that works. Anytime you get outside of yourself and you put effort toward lifting up somebody else, it always fills us. It always lifts us up and encourages us as well because that's how God created us. So bathe in the word. That's my second one.
I love that one too. And I think it made me think of that quote, and I won't be able to quote all of it, but one of the saint, somebody said that the Bible is shallow enough that children can play in it in its shallowness, and deep enough that men can go out far, 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 but and just swim. I terribly did that quote, but it's made me think of, you say bathe in the word, and I think that can be intimidating for people who don't know where to start. And
Mhm.
so dip your toes into it at first. And while you're dipping your toes into it, pray and ask God to give you the desire to know more and more, because he will. He will, James talks about asking for wisdom, and where is that wisdom coming from? It's from the word. So he will give that desire for you. But I know I've seen and heard lots of comments from people that, okay, I can read it, but what, I don't know where to go from there. Read it or write it. And then what? They'll say, where do you come up with this and this and this? And so maybe we don't, jump off of the high dive first and then flounder around in the deep because we don't know what we're doing, but just get in slowly. and ask God continually to give you that desire, to give you some wisdom. And it's it's so funny to me. Funny is not the right word, but it's so interesting to me how when you do invest yourself, your heart and your mind and your soul into the word, how God takes it and like you said, it's not something that you're doing, it's something that God is doing through you, and you can
Mhm.
help other people with that. And Paul said, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. So we've got to be that way as well. So I love that.
Well, I just think that, there's no shame in needing a spiritual pick me up. There's no shame in that. The very fact that we have all these psalms of you can hear their discouragement, grief, disappointment, pain, you can hear all of that. And they're just crying out and asking for God to help them and, help me to be revived in your word or however it's worded. And so I think what I was trying to say with that is we can do that exact same thing. And even if it's just reading through some of the Psalms that we've already mentioned, um, but we can go receive the same kind of revival from the word in one easy way by going through the beginning of all those letters that Paul wrote and reading those specific encouragements and be encouraged by it, but then take it and turn around and use it to encourage somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's kind of a twofold way for spiritual refreshing or a spiritual revival. And um, that's not why we do stuff like that. It just works that way.
Mhm.
Our motivation for any kind of active service is never what I can get back up from it. It just works that way, to um, take in some of that strength and encouragement for yourself, all that you need, as much of it that you need, and then look for ways to also share it with somebody else and encourage somebody else with a word too. And
Yeah,
I just think that God can turn the heart of stone into the heart of flesh, as he says.
absolutely. That's a good one. Okay, my next one is to take a good long look at your own attitudes.
No.
Yeah, well, you have an attitude you need to adjust then. How many times have we talked about this? We talk about this a lot. Your attitude needs to be changed. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And um, there's just, I don't know, and I feel myself going down in the valley sometimes with my attitude. And then it's like a snowball going downhill. It picks up everything in its path and just keeps on going and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But just thinking about how we get stuck in a judgmental rut
Mm.
of looking at someone and not giving them grace and compassion and love. Look at our own attitudes. Are we being too judgmental? Are we being too harsh? Are we being too critical? And maybe you might offer some, let's say, constructive criticism, or maybe sometimes it's not so constructive. And maybe you mean well,
Mhm.
but if they don't know that you mean well, it doesn't matter. You're not getting across. John always says perception is important. So if I perceive that you're scolding me or whatever, then I may or may not take that very well because I don't know where your heart is behind it. But just thinking about our attitudes, if that's just the way we are every day, is being
Mhm.
judgmental about people, things. I mean, I think we even spent some time on this in the last podcast or a couple times ago. But our attitudes, if we need a reset, a lot of times it's because we've got what do you call it, stinking thinking. We've got
Yeah.
some stinky thoughts going on. And this too made me think of Colossians 3. We always spend a lot of time in there, but when you think about the things that you're to take off, take off the old man and put on the new man. And when you look at what those new qualities are, compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forbearance, being forgiving and loving and letting peace rule, that's that's pretty awesome. That'll give you a reset if you decide, if you're intentional about it, and look through that list of things that are, these things you put away. You put away that anger and the malice and all of those things that the abusive speech. And remember, we made a promise to God and in front of other people that we're not going to be this way. And while we make that promise and we go down into the water and come back up a new woman, then we need to work on having these attitudes. It's not one of those things that you come up out of the water and all of a sudden you're just the most compassionate person in the world. It's something you have to work on. But if we go about it trying to be look at our own attitudes, and I think the thing that helps the most in this area is to stop and pray and ask God about that. Because when you pray, when you stop and pray, you're taking on a position of humility, which always, always, always helps. I mean, I can't think of any situation where humility would not help. And I don't understand why people are against humility sometimes, but humble yourself before God and ask for his help, and humble yourself before other people and look at your own attitudes. And I think you'll get a reset out of that.
That makes me think that if, it's everybody around you is not measuring up, everybody else has a problem and everybody else isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And at some point you have to realize, oh, it could be me. It's like that. If everybody around you isn't measuring up, you need to check your yardstick.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be your problem. Neil used to always tell that old illustration about the man whose grandson pulled a prank on him and put Limburger cheese on his mustache while he was sleeping. Have you heard that one?
No.
And so, he smeared Limburger cheese all over his mustache. And when he woke up, he was like, Ma, it stinks in here. And then he moves into the kitchen. Ma, it stinks in the kitchen. Anyway, he in the illustration he goes all over the place and then he finally walks outside and he's like, "Ma, the whole world stinks." And the whole point of the illustration is sometimes we think the whole world stinks, but the problem's right under our nose. So
Mhm. That's a perfect one.
yeah, when everybody else around you has a problem, what's
Yeah,
the common denominator here? It could be
you're
you
the
that has the problem. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
All the
Love it.
people close to you in your life, if there's friction and drama and it could be that we need to look in the mirror of God's word.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so my next one is when you need a spiritual refresh, sing. um Psalm 69 verse 30 says, I will praise the name of God with song and magnify him with thanksgiving. And then verse 32 says, the humble have seen it and are glad. You who seek God, let your heart revive.
Mm.
So I was thinking about how it's one of those things where even if you're not feeling it, if you start singing, it just kind of makes you feel it. It just changes your heart. It changes your attitude. It changes your demeanor. You may not think you're in a singing mood, but start singing your favorite hymns and songs while you're doing the dishes or blow drying your hair. That's the best time to do it because
Nobody can hear.
you sound better when your hair dryer is going. It's like when sometimes I have a playlist that's just called upbeat music. And
Mhm.
it's a whole wide range of songs, from older songs, newer songs, but every single one of them, you just can't help but move around and it kind of puts you in a good mood because they really are. It really is a great playlist.
Mhm.
And I just think that singing does the same thing. Even if you think you don't like it or you don't enjoy it or you're not good at it, it just does it. God made it that way. And the psalmist sang. I just don't I think we do a disservice if we save it for worship, just for worship, when we come together in worship. And that if our children hear us singing, if your spouse hears you singing, it's going to affect them too. But, if you're just not feeling it and you're stuck in a rut, what's your favorite song? Sing in the car. Um, what's your mother's favorite song? Sing her favorite song. Just what's a song that has a memory attached to it? Or what's your favorite new song that you've just learned? Just start singing. And if that's not something you're used to doing, you might feel a little silly at first if you're by yourself singing. But it really does work. It really does. We had an episode recently on our favorite songs, part two.
Mhm.
And I was talking about how you had shared a song. I can't even remember the name of it right now. Um, what was that? You had shared it. It was after a funeral or something.
Was it the one where the guy sings all the different parts of harmony? Um, when I go home.
It wasn't that one because I know that one already. It was one that I hadn't heard before.
Hmm.
But anyway, so I played that and loved it, and I was kind of distracted when you shared that. I was, my mind was in a million different places. I played that song and how it works, how it automatically goes into the next video on YouTube. It went into another and it ended up playing this like whole series of these really beautiful, a cappella songs. And next thing you know, I'm just singing right along with them and my mood just lifted. I wasn't really in a bad mood. But my mood just lifted because that's just how singing works. It just works. And so that's my next one.
I'm looking to see if I can find that song because I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
the
I
goodness of God. Was it the goodness of God?
I didn't think it was, but I feel like it was one I had never heard before.
Okay.
I remember because then we went to Alaska right after that, and I found it in the songbook that they had up there, and you said, "Oh, I've never seen the words to it."
Well, if I could go back quickly and find that text because I sent you a link to it to listen to it, right?
Well,
And I
you
still
posted it on Facebook, I think.
after I think I did the next week when the podcast came out.
Okay.
Anyway, it
Anyway,
probably
that's
would,
neither here nor there.
but yeah, why are we even talking about this?
Why are we doing this? I was just using it as an example of how it kind of accidentally put me in a good mood because I started hearing and singing along with all of these songs. But
Well, it doesn't surprise me about you because you are a songbird, and I have a hard time with that. Like if I'm in a bad mood or if I'm sad or any negative emotion at all, I have a hard time singing. But what I hear you saying is just do it anyway, and I need to do that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying is don't save it for when you feel like it. When you're not feeling it, when your heart feels hard or distant or
Yeah.
whatever it is, sing,
When
sing
the
praises to God.
when our oldest two, Jordan and Jacob, they it's like we had them, and then way later we had Micah. But when they were probably 4 and 6, and they would get crossways with each other, John would make them hug, and while they're hugging, sing love one another. And at first they hated it. They're just trying to get away from each other, but they end up laughing. They would end up laughing every time. So maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do that as adults. There's a rule. If you're having a tiff with someone, you have to go put your arms around them and sing love one another. I think it's Angry Words is the name of that song, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
What's
my
your
turn.
next? Hmm.
This is my last one. Um, this one is to evaluate and adjust your expectations. And so not just your attitudes, but thinking about your expectations. And this may be a little bit, have to dig a little bit harder to explain what I mean, but if nothing ever meets your expectations, then you're going to need a reset. Either you're going to need it because you're going to be so down and depressed that none of your expectations are met, you're going to need a reset, or your problem is that you have expectations that are too high. And these are some that I had written down for that previous lesson. Expectations lead to these kinds of feelings. So let me know if you've ever had any of these kind of feelings. If someone did something to you, they should have known that that would hurt me. Or here's another one. I thought being in church meant I had an automatic group of friends. So
Hmm.
that's an expectation. I thought if you're a church leader, you were perfect. I thought more people would reach out to me. I thought more people would notice I was gone. I thought more people would meet my needs. I thought more people would know I needed help. So those are some not great expectations. I thought the church would serve me more. I thought they would tell me if they needed my help. They should have told me that they needed help. I thought they'd tell me what needs to be done. I thought everyone would love the church just like I do. So why doesn't everyone think like me? Why doesn't everyone have emotions just like me? They should have known everyone was invited. This made me think, and this came from a shower situation where a woman came to me and said, I've got a gift for so and so, but I wasn't invited to the shower. And, she was being persnickety about it. She wanted me to go get her gift and take it to the shower. And I said, everyone was invited. It's been announced. I mean, it threw me for a loop because I'd heard the announcements and but that it turns out that several had cards, like reminder cards for the shower, and were passing them out. And this woman didn't get one. And so she thought that meant she couldn't come. And I
Mhm.
thought, but they announced for everyone to come and they announced for a month ahead of time. So they should have known, or they should have invited me. Or maybe I thought they'd be more grateful. So if we have, these unmet expectations, it's time for a reset. And I think it's also time for a dose of humility too, because not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody understands. Nobody can read your mind. And that's kind of, I guess, where I'm going to is that we just expect people to live up to our expectations and they don't even know that you have one. And that's not fair. So if you need a reset, maybe you need to think about adjusting and changing and lowering, even though I don't like to say lower your expectations. But if your expectations are unreasonable, then yes, you need to lower your expectations or have none. Just don't have any.
How about we give everybody the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah, I think there's
How
something
about
biblical
we,
about that.
yeah, how about we quit assuming the worst about others and
Yeah,
give them the benefit of the doubt and not be so concerned with what we think everybody should be doing or not be
yeah,
doing, more
yeah. How
concerned
about we
with what
do
we
that?
should be doing.
Like when Jesus tells who does he tell Peter? You worry about yourself. Let me
Yeah,
handle these other people.
yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Good, really
your turn.
good. Yes, I have thought some of those things. So. My last one is remember what you have received. And that one's from Revelation chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. To the angel of the church in Sardis, write, He who has the seven spirits of God and seven stars says this, I know your deeds, that you have a name, that you are alive, but you are dead. Wake up and strengthen the things that remain, which were about to die. For I have not found your deeds completed in the sight of my God. So remember what you have received and heard, and keep it and repent. Therefore, if you do not wake up, I'll come like a thief, and you'll not know at what hour I'll come to you. So, he says, wake up. I feel like that's what we just need to say sometimes. Soul, wake up,
Yeah,
and remember the things that you've received and heard, and keep it and repent. And, sometimes it's situations and circumstances that wear us down and difficulties. And yes, yes, for sure. That's legitimate. And we need strength from God's word to help us go through any kind of pain and suffering and grief. But sometimes we just need to wake up. And
mhm,
like you were saying, sometimes maybe it is an attitude problem or a sin problem or getting caught up in selfishness or going after the wrong things. Our priorities have gotten
yeah,
all out of line and we're going after the wrong things and there's no fulfillment or satisfaction in that. And we're just not where we're supposed to be. Well, wake up and remember the things that you've received and repent. And when I think about the things that we've received, of course, the blood of Christ, the salvation that comes from the blood of Christ, of course, the strength from God's word, the avenue of prayer, but the very church family that you just mentioned, is a huge blessing. And when we were at the family retreat, Tim Lewis pointed out this verse. I've never seen it in this way before. I think it was in First Samuel. I wrote it down, but I don't have it in front of me. And he was reading this part of the text where it was saying, you know, um, if and it names another people, let's say Assyrians. I don't think that's who it was, but let's just say
okay,
if the Assyrians are too powerful for you, we'll come and help you. But and it was another group of people, are too powerful for us, then you come and help us. And he was talking about how, he put the word enemy in there, that there are times when the enemy is just too powerful for me and I
mhm,
need you to come help me. And then there are times when the enemy is too powerful for you. Well, I'm going to be there to help you. And that's why God gave us the church. Encouragement is vital. Being there for each other is vital. And I loved that verse, and I kept thinking, really, you could just put a blank there and fill it in with anything. You know, if my grief is too strong for me, if my sin problem is too strong for me, if my, whatever it is that's landed me where I am,
Mhm.
then, you come help me. And when yours is too strong for you, I'll come help you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful thought, and it's one that instead of focusing, you were just talking about how we we can get frustrated with our church family because we don't think they're who or what are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Instead of remembering the blessing that it is that God's given us. And, how are you filling that role? Another thing that he said that I thought was so powerful is he was sharing a story about how some member, kind of stumbled a little bit into worship, and somebody else made the little snide comment, smells like he's been drinking again. And he said, what if love had a fragrance?
Mhm.
What if compassion, grace, those things had a scent and it was more obvious? What would people smell on you? Could they tell, it smells like you're being compassionate again? There are some things that are more obvious. He's talking about how, drunkenness has a smell. So it's more obvious and it's really easy to judge. But what about when we have a critical spirit or any of those things that have put us where we don't need to be? What if they had something more obvious and people could tell? Most of the time it doesn't. And, what would, if it all did, what would we smell like when we walked around
Mhm.
our church family?
Wow.
It was really, really good. It was a really good point. But remember what you have received. And I think that seeing it for the blessing it is, the vital blessing that God's family is, will help. I mean, really, you're going to be too busy caring about other people, to become stagnant. But remember the blessing that God's given, everything that He's given us, and that'll help.
Yeah. I remember Tyler King when he was in preaching school in chapel one day, taught a lesson, and I don't know what he titled it. You may have been there that day. This would have been spring of 2017. And he talked about that song. I know I brought this up on the podcast before, but he talked about that song La Vie en Rose, an old French song from way back in the 40s, probably. And basically, it's about when you're in love, you see through these rose-colored glasses. Like
Mhm.
you see the world, everything that's beautiful because you're in love. And everything you look at is colored by that love and just the feeling of contentment that you have. And he said, what if we saw the world through forgiveness colored glasses?
Mhm.
And what you're thinking about or what you're talking about, remembering what we've been given by God. What if we had the lenses to where every soul, every time we turn, everywhere we go, we saw them in light of what God had given us, and it gave us the urgency to give the same thing to them or show them the way to that forgiveness, that salvation. And I can't tell you how many times I've thought about that, because how we see life, the lenses through which we choose to see life, will change how we see people. And now when we're in a place, one of those places overseas, where, to say the Trevi Fountain, you've been there when it's crowded, and you basically, I just get behind John and hold onto his belt and he blazes a trail. But I can't help but look around, and there may be 3,000 people packed in that I don't know, 100 square yard piece of sidewalk. And
Mhm.
every face I look at, every set of eyes that I lock eyes with, every person there, God knows their name. He knows their background. He knows their weaknesses, and he loves them. And it really did change my life just to think about every person. If we see the world, knowing that the gift that God has given me of forgiveness and salvation makes me see the world differently. So look at the world through forgiveness colored glasses, I think is a neat thing to remember.
Yeah, and especially your church family. Look at them through thankful glasses.
Yeah.
Everyone, even the ones that you don't naturally click with.
Mhm.
But thankfulness for who they are and what God's done for us and given us. And yeah, so that's all I have. Do you have anything else? Okay. Do you have something good for us?
Milk chocolate gummy bears? No, I forgot. I'm
All
still
right.
asleep.
That's all right. I told you last week that I was gonna show you this. This is called a peanut butter stirrer. Have you seen one of these?
I didn't know I've got a long that I thought was for icing, but that makes more sense.
Yeah. Well, so I can't remember what I shared last week, but when Christy and I went to Florida, the little place that we stayed in, the little bungalow thing, had one of these in the drawer. And I don't even remember what we were using it for, but I was like, "That what is this is so handy. I've never seen one like this." And she said, "You don't have one of those? That's called a peanut butter stirrer. And it's for, that when you buy the natural peanut butter, which we do, and you have to stir up the jar. That's what this is for." But she was saying that she uses it for so many more things. Well, not long after we got back, this little set showed up.
Yeah.
So now I have my own, and I'm telling you, we have probably used this thing at least half a dozen times since she has sent it. It is remarkable. I just feel like
I
it's one
think
of those tools that I'm thinking, how have I had a household this long and
Mhm.
never had this thing in my drawer?
Yeah, like the mayonnaise or something like that. You can get all the way to the bottom and scrape it out.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, and yeah, you can use it for icing and, pretty much any drawer thing.
No,
I mean, it's just perfect.
I need a smaller one like that. Mine literally is, it's, I don't know, probably 15 inches long.
Oh.
But I think that size would be more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
All right.
like it.
Well, I know you have things to do, and I hope you get some good rest and your body clock gets set back to normal soon.
I hope I don't talk to any imaginary people tonight again like I did last night.
Yeah.
I see dead
Let me
people.
know if that happens again, though. I might revise my diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. Until next time.
Keep looking up.
All right. Love you, friend.
Love you too. See you later.